If you're anything like me, you've probably wondered whether replacement LED headlight bulbs are really worth it. Well, look no further because today we're going to find out. Welcome to the Wheels on Wheels YouTube channel, and today we're going to be fitting AUXITO LED replacement headlight bulbs. This is a really easy job that you can do at home with nothing more than a flathead screwdriver. I just need to interject here to explain that the LEDs did not really work in the Focus for multiple reasons that I'll explain later on. So make sure to stick around to the part of the video where I instead fit them to my fiance's Seat Leon, which works a lot better. So today I'm going to show you how to do it, and we're going to do a before and after comparison. So let's go. So here are the AUXITO LED headlight bulbs in question. So we've got H1s for the full or high beam, and we've got H7s for the dipped beam. Now, if we open the boxes up, you will notice these particular ones are very small. So they're not big and bulky like a lot of LED headlights. They are basically the same size as what you'd get a regular H7 or H1 bulb. And the great thing about that is there's no difficulty in fitting it. So you don't have a big bulky sort of ballast on the bottom of it that you struggle to fit inside the housing for the headlight. It just fits like a normal bulb. But it does actually have an internal fan inside here. And the same with this one. You can see the fan a little bit better on this one. It has a little tiny fan that blows over a heatsink to keep it cool, all while maintaining the small sort of form factor of a regular bulb, which I think is really clever. It does come with instructions for both of them, and these are different models. So these are the Q16 model, and these are the GFM model. So they are different model names, but they both are very similar in terms of they're both very small and they fit inside the headlights with no problems. So let's go over to the car and fit them. So first step, open your bonnet. Step 2 is to remove the headlight. So grab your flathead screwdriver or Torx bit if you prefer, and remove this screw here and this screw here. So once your two screws are removed, simply pull up at the back of the headlight like that. Once it's unlatched, pull it towards you. So once your headlight is pulled forward like this, you next want to remove the connector. So just use your thumb to push this clip down and wiggle the connector and disconnect it. So that is the headlight removed. So next you want to remove the rubber cover. So this is the cover for the dipped beam, and inside you'll see you've got this type of connector. So you just want to push this clip upwards. That's quite fiddly, as you can see, but basically you just push this clip upwards and wiggle the connector free, which will expose the headlight bulb. So then you want to remove the bulb and place in the new LED headlight bulb. So you want to make sure that the LEDs are facing left and right, or 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position. That looks correct, like that. And what we want to do is just place the connector back over it again. There we are, push it until it clicks, and that is the headlight bulb replaced. So simply just put your rubber cover back on and reinstall the headlight. But before you fully reinstall it, plug it in and test it just to make sure it's working. Push the connector back on until it clicks. Let's give it a test. Wow, I can tell you already that is extremely bright. So that's before, and that's after. So even in daylight you can see the difference. So to replace the headlight, it's the reverser removal. So basically just slide it in from the front, and it should, once you get it into the right position, drop down, and then just push it back. And you'll know when it's seated correctly because you won't be able to remove it. It will no longer be loose, even though there's no screws. Put your screws back in. So that is one headlight bulb replaced, and it is already looking so much brighter even in daylight than the other side. So I can't wait to see what it looks like at night time. So we're going to do a quick comparison when it gets a bit darker of the before and after, and we're just going to compare the two, and then I'll replace the other headlight bulb and we'll go out and do some other before and after shots. So I've just pulled the car into the garage to test the new LEDs versus the old halogens. And unfortunately, we have a problem. So the LED is installed on one side, but unfortunately, if I go to start the car, you will see we've got a dipped beam bulb fault, which in itself is not the end of the world. However, if I go and start the engine, you'll find the light switches off automatically after a few seconds, which is no good. As you can see now, I've switched the engine off, still only have one light working. So as you would have just seen, that's really disappointing news for fitting LED headlight bulbs to the Mark III Focus. It doesn't really work. Not only does the dip beam cause an error on the dashboard, but also switches off, so you need some sort of decoder, which I'm not sure if you can even fit.
Hey, Wheels here from the future again. I've done some research and I've found that if you use these bulb holder adapters for LEDs, then you can actually use a decoder with the Ford Focus. But I haven't tried it.
The other issue is the high beam, which is as important in my opinion, also doesn't really work because it has this little pigtail. But again, because the connector is integral to how the bulb is held into the housing, you can't do away with that connector and move it somewhere else.
Once again, you actually can, you just need one of these special adapters.
Because there's no mechanism to hold the bulb into the headlight without that plastic connector clicking in on top of it, because usually on the H1 bulbs you've just got this little connector sticking out the end of the bulb. To be honest, I don't think it really works for the Mark III Focus, at least not without a decoder. However, Mark II Seat Leon also uses H7 and H1 bulbs, and my fiance happens to own one of them. So tomorrow we're going to fit these bulbs to her car and see if it works better in there. Maybe it'll be perfect.
5 minutes later.
I know I said I was going to do it tomorrow, but I want to get it done now. I'm really intrigued to see if this works. So let's get started. So on the Leon, it's a bit different to the Focus. You don't remove the whole headlight. You can't. You can only access one bolt. So to remove the headlight, you have to remove the front bumper on this car. So the way you do it is you have a lot more access on this. So to get to the dipped beam, you need to remove this panel here. So you just push down on the lever at the bottom, like that, and then pull up on the lever at the top, right there. And you can remove this panel. So in there, you then have access to the back of the headlight bulb. So what you do is remove the connector, like so. Then you see the bulb is held in with a piece of basically metal wire. So you push that in and to the side, levers down like that, and then you can remove the bulb. I'll pop that there for now. So get the new bulb. Again, making sure that the LEDs are facing left and right, or 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And just insert it into the headlight, like so. Lift up the lever, click it into place, and reconnect the connector. Nice and simple. So refitting this panel for the dipped beam is a reverse removal. So you just pop the little panel back on and just pull up the clip on the bottom, on the top. There we are. And that's in. So doing the high beam is slightly different because you have to remove this rubber cover here. You just pull it off like that. And once you've done that, you'll have a very limited amount of access behind the headlight. So the high beam is very similar to the dipped beam. It's just a connector and a little metal wire clip that holds it in. So you've just got to disconnect that connector. Don't think I'll be able to film this. And just unclip that clip and remove the bulb. This will be very difficult to film, so I don't think I'll be able to do it. So out with the old, in with the new. So this can only go in one way because of this flat. You see the old one has the same, so you'll know when it's seated correctly. You just have to make sure, most importantly, again, that the LEDs are facing left and right, or 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position. So I've just pop this back in. So the high beam and the low beam has been replaced on the Leon on this side. Sorry I couldn't really film the high beam bit. It would have been basically impossible to fit the camera in because I could barely even fit my hand in. So it's quite tight. You do sort of have to work with no vision to do the high beam, to be honest, but it's pretty much the same principle. There's a plug you just pull off the end, and there's a clip that you just push in and push to the side and it will release. It's quite straightforward, really. So it's the moment of truth. Let's try it out. Wow, there it is. And if I do high beam, wow. Perfect. No warning lights on the dash. And if I start the engine, still no warnings, still working. So it's looking like the LEDs are working in the Leon already so much better. So let's take it outside and compare the two lights. So here's the before and after comparison. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but once again, the LED is so much brighter than the halogen bulb. The beam pattern is pretty good. It's kicking up to the left-hand side as expected. Looking at it from the front, much more modern. Looks a heck of a lot better. It's a real shame that I haven't got any side light bulbs to replace them, but that looks really, really good. And if I just put on the high beam, wow, look at the brightness on that. That is absolutely amazing. And still no error codes on the dash. I'm going to go into the garage now and replace the bulbs on the other side, and we'll skip to the bit where I go out into the darkness to see how bright they are in real life on the roads.
So there's definitely a noticeable difference on the dipped beam. However, the biggest difference is in the high beam. As you can see on the bottom right, the high beam LEDs allow you to see so much further, and it even lights up much more of the trees as well. Very impressive.
So, are they really worth it? Well, to find the answer, you have to ask yourself 3 questions. First question is, do they work for your car? So obviously, as we've seen, they don't work for all cars. Some cars may only require a decoder. Some cars, like my Ford Focus, because of the connector design, it doesn't work at all.
Again, unless you use one of these special adapters, apparently.
Try and find a video guide online to see if somebody else has fitted LEDs to your car, and if you can't find that, then it's just a case of trying it and seeing if it works, basically. The second thing you have to ask yourself, the second question you have to ask yourself is, do you mind the risk of dazzling oncoming traffic? They are obviously very bright, and unless your headlights are perfectly clear and perfectly aligned, you do run the risk of dazzling other road users. In fact, when I took the Leon out, the very first car that I drove past started flashing me, presumably because I was dazzling them. So that is something you have to consider. And the third and final question you have to ask yourself is, do you mind potentially failing your MOT? So updated MOT guidance from 2021 says very strictly that any existing halogen headlamps cannot be converted to use LED bulbs. Clear as day in the MOT guidance, and that means that it is therefore not road legal. With all that in mind, do I think they are worth it? Well, I believe the H1 high beam bulbs are worth it. They're very bright, and obviously you're not going to be using it when there's oncoming traffic, so there's no risk of dazzling other road users. You still do have the risk that technically they might fail an MOT. However, the H7 dipped beam bulbs I do not believe are worth it because of the risk of dazzling oncoming traffic. I don't think that's really fair. That's no fun for anybody, and it's not really safe. So in my opinion, it's only worth it for the high beam bulbs, and that's the way I have my fiance's Leon currently configured, with just the LEDs for the high beams and the standard halogens for the dip beams. Thank you so much guys for watching. If this video was helpful to you, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this and other awesome projects. You don't want to miss them. And yeah, bye for now.